Hello everyone, can you hear me? Good morning, good evening. Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to our second Windows Dev Chat community call. We're so excited to have you join us, no matter if you're tuning in live or watching the recording. I'm Gleb, a software engineer at Microsoft, and I'll be your host for today's call. Let's settle in with our favorite drinks and dive into the session. I would like to begin by revisiting our objective for this series. We're targeting developers who wish to develop on Windows, for Windows, and for other platforms. Our goal is to ensure that you are as productive and successful as possible when you're choosing Windows as your development tool and target. Therefore, we'll introduce you to Windows development tools and platforms, keep you informed about the latest innovations, and gather your feedback. We're still fine-tuning this call, so feel free to provide your feedback in any format. Do you prefer more topic-focused calls or a mix of various topics? Let us know in the comments. Today's agenda includes an amazing lineup of topics and speakers covering a range of valuable insights, demos, and updates. And stick around to the end for our Q&A session. To help you stay connected with our Windows Dev community beyond today's call, on this slide you will find links to our video playlist, our social networks for latest updates, and our blog for in-depth articles and tutorials. Mark your calendars for our upcoming events, and don't forget to fill out our feedback form and join after-call discussion in Discord community. Jordi Adomi will walk us through advanced-based custom actions. Over to you, Jordi.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, everyone. My name is Jordi Adumi, and today I'm really excited to share a handful of new features inside of Advanced Paste. So Gleb, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you so much. So if you joined us for the first episode, we talked a lot about Advanced Paste and how you can get the most out of your workflows with Advanced Paste. And today I'm going to be talking about a handful of our new features. So the first thing I'll talk about is this concept of custom paste actions. This is something that was released in PowerToys in our last release, and it essentially allows you to reuse your workflows really quickly. It's a really helpful way to not have to type in the same prompt over and over again when you want to do a clipboard transformation. I'll also chat a little bit about some additional actions that are coming up in the upcoming release. So we have paste as file actions, things like pasting to text, to PNG, to HTML. And I'll also talk a little bit about the paste image as text action. So that uses OCR to extract text from an image. So if you copy an image into your clipboard, you can quickly just paste the text using the handy dandy Advanced Paste UI. And last but certainly not least, something that is very exciting is the semantic kernel. This will not be included in the next release, but it will be coming up in future releases. I'll dive more into the weeds of the semantic kernel and what you're seeing on this slide in just a bit. But with all that intro, let's jump into the fun part. Let's do some demos and let's show off what is new in Advanced Paste. So that said, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So here what you're seeing is PowerToys, which Ethan showed previously with the awesome new plus feature. And what I'm showing off here is Advanced Paste in the Advanced Paste settings. So if you joined us for the last episode, again, we talked a lot about a bunch of these different actions. We had paste as plain text, markdown, and of course the AI actions. You'll also notice here, though, something pretty interesting, paste as numbered list. So this is a custom action that I've created, and we'll go ahead and create a custom action together as well. And if you scroll down now in the latest release, the upcoming release, you'll see additional actions. So we're thinking about how can we make you more powerful with your clipboard, and how can we provide additional actions to help you transform your clipboard data. So here you have image to text and paste as file, some of those actions that I chatted about on the slide. But let's go ahead and let's actually create our own custom action. And so something that I do a lot is I text my grandmother through WhatsApp, and she only speaks French. And so we go back and forth in French. We share articles and things of that nature. So let me go ahead and add a custom action that allows me to translate an article to French or a snippet of an article. And we can name it paste article to French, seems reasonable. And then what you have to do is provide a prompt. So in the interest of time and to not have you all laugh at how slow I type sometimes, I've copied this prompt here. Let me go back to PowerToys and I will paste in this prompt. So what we want to do is we want to summarize the article snippet. Makes sense. We want to paste it to French. Makes sense. And my grandma loves emojis. So we're going to paste some lighthearted emojis in where appropriate. I'll go ahead and save that custom action. And what you'll notice now is in the Advanced Paste actions list, there's this paste article to French action. So this actually happened a few days ago. I live in New York, and here's a handy dandy article I was reading, and it actually turns out that you could see comets in New York. So I wanted to share this with my grandma. I read all my articles in English, but again, I wanted to translate to French so she could read it. So I just wanted to share this snippet. So I copy this. I would go to WhatsApp, but in this case, I'll just use Notepad as a proxy. I'll invoke the Advanced Paste UI. And what you'll notice now is that there are these additional actions. So you see this top level here with the additional actions. You'll also see this custom actions list at the bottom. And so here, paste as numbered list. That was one of my custom actions. I've also got paste article to French, which is the one that we just built together. So let me go ahead and actually start typing. So if I start typing now, where we previously were taking AI and using that to just translate your clipboard, we're also going to be filtering your action set so you can quickly find the thing that you want. So here I click on my workflow that I use all the time, and let's see what it generates. Love it when a plan works. And look at that. We have a new series of text. It's got emojis in appropriate spots, and that's awesome. And so this is just an example of how you can start to create your own custom actions inside of Advanced Paste for things that you do a lot with your clipboard and to be really, really powerful. But I want to give another example that's going to start talking a little bit more about those additional actions and the concept of the semantic kernel, which is really, really exciting. And so if you go further down in this article, there's actually a table that was sharing, the times at which it'd be best to go outside to go and view the comment. So you can't extract this text easily just by selecting because it won't let me select. You can see it won't let me do that. So I can just use the snipping tool, and let's go ahead and put an image in the clipboard. But in order to really show off the power of the semantic kernel, let's go to File Explorer and let's actually try something a little more complex. So let's say, again, I have an image in the clipboard. Let's say I want to convert to a markdown table. So that seems reasonable. Then I'm going to translate it to French because I want my grandma to be able to read it. Translate to French, then paste as a file, let's say. Paste as file. So I'm going to go ahead and have it do this. And while it's generating this output, we can talk a little bit about the semantic kernel. But essentially, the semantic kernel is now reasoning over my input, and it's able to say, with an image in the clipboard, let me go and extract the text. Let me go do some AI transformations, and then let me actually go use one of these new actions and paste as a file. So it's pretty cool. Here you can see this file. Let's go see what it actually looked like. This was a previous run. I wanted to see if it worked, and it did on the first try. So let's hope live demo looks good. Look at that. We have this markdown. Let me go ahead and rename this .text file as a markdown. And let's see a preview if it looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. That's awesome. So basically, it was able to reason through this chain of actions that I provided just through natural language in the prompt and leverage the actions catalog that we have back in PowerToys in order to do the right things. And so I also thought it might be cool to show off some of the logs that we have in PowerToys to kind of show off what's happening here. The big thing that's happening that I want to call out is that the kernel, the semantic kernel, is able to reason through all of these different actions and create a chain. And so first thing it does is take my image and it makes that text. Then it says, okay, I'll do some custom text transformation, which is our equivalent of use AI. And it's going to do that twice because it had to first take the text and then it made it a markdown table. And then it reasoned, okay, after I've made a markdown table, then I'll translate it to French. And then finally, you can see it use this last action here. Hopefully you all can see this if I point to it, paste as text file. So here is the semantic kernel actually reasoning through all of the different actions. And as we continue to add more actions, the kernel is able to just continue to chain these things together to create really powerful workflows. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can go back to that last slide. And I won't go into too much detail because I think the logs gave a pretty good overview. But this is an image that I took directly from the semantic kernel documentation. Essentially, the kernel is sitting in the middle now of what we're doing in PowerToys for Advanced Paste. And it's able to take in that prompt, right? It reasons and it can iterate multiple times through the application to understand what's the best sequence of events that we can give to users. And so we're really excited for you to try out the new paste actions, paste to file, paste image to text, and the semantic kernel will be coming up in an upcoming release. We're just testing some of the quality and some of the API usage, which is really exciting. But it's all on the GitHub, so you can go ahead and check out that branch too if you'd like.
Thank you, Jordi. Now let's learn about Olive Auto Optimizer. And your turn, Sam. You're muted. Sam.
Schoolboy error, there we go. Yeah, I'm Sam Kemp. I'm a program manager in the AI frameworks team. So I'm going to show you how you can optimize models from Hugging Face to run them on Windows. So we do that using a tool called Olive, which is an acronym for sort of Onyx Live. An easy to use and integrated tool chain that consists of many of the sort of model optimization components that you would sort of expect to see. So things like fine tuning, being able to capture the graph efficiently, run a bunch of optimizations on that graph, do quantization, tweak the runtime parameters. And the key thing about what Olive does for you is it automatically finds the optimized model for you. So rather than having to go and do a bunch of different experiments manually and try and figure out, like, okay, which is the better model for a certain latency, but also like model quality trade-off, it will go and find this for you. So you kind of set up it to go and do that. So that's kind of articulated on this graph. Here's what I'm going to show you today is where we take a Hugging Face model, we optimize it using Olive, and we get the Onyx model out, and then we run that on the Onyx runtime on Windows through DirectML. And it's not just for Windows, but also you can do that for like Linux and Mac as well, and Android and iOS. Okay, so why would you want to kind of use Olive? Well, because it automatically finds this model, that just reduces a lot of time and frustration trying to find an optimal model. And it also contains all the cutting edge model optimization components. So we have around about 40 plus built-in components that range from sort of like quantization to compression, graph optimization, fine tuning. And what we have just released a few days ago is a brand new CLI. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Cool. So Olive was had this workflow management layer, so you'd have to do a lot of configuration in either YAML or JSON to sort of set up these optimization workflows. And what we've done with the CLI is to take curated workflows and make that kind of primitive, right? So, for example, when we run the auto optimizer, so auto opt in this table, under the covers, we're running quite a complex Olive workflow that will go and do like the conversion, optimizing the transformer, the quantization, and also do performance tuning of the Onyx runtime as well. Okay, so let me sort of delve into a sort of demo to show you how this works. Let me just present my screen. Okay. Make sure I get the right screen. Okay, so in this example, like the inspiration for this is my 13-year-old son. So he's had a lot of maths homework recently, and obviously he has a lot of questions for me. And it's kind of laborious having to answer a lot of his questions around things. So I wondered about, like, could I take a model and put that into Onyx and get that running on a device for him? And so the model we're going to take is up on Hugging Face here. So it's this specific maths models, and on Hugging Face it kind of shows where we've got a base model that's been used, and then this is being fine-tuned for mathematics. So if we sort of get into VS Studio here, so to take this model that is on, is the screen updating? That's interesting. I don't think, is the screen updated to VS Code? Because I'm not seeing it on the screen here.
No, not yet.
Okay, hold on. Let's yeah, screen. Let's redo that. Okay, so here we are in Visual Studio, and to take this Hugging Face model and get it to run on device in an optimized way, it's like a super simple command. So there's this Olive auto opt command where we take in that model and we give it a provider. So here we're going to target DML, and you see it's like CPU because I don't have an NPU or GPU on my device, so you can set up different device targets for it. And we're going to quantize it as well into int4. So this is going to take sort of like a fairly large model and shrink it down so that it runs a bit more efficiently on the device. And so when I go and run this bit of PowerShell, it executes it. Now here you'll see, if you look at the timestamps here, this is pretty quick, and the reason for that is that Olive has caching. So I've rerun this, and it just knows to just go into a cache on the local disk and pull models that it's already optimized for to sort of save on time and cost. If I was to run this from scratch, this particular model would get converted in under 2 minutes. Obviously, the bigger the model, the longer it kind of takes to convert. But for most small language models that are in the sort of less than sort of 7 gigabytes, something like that, it just takes a few minutes to do. And when this finishes, what you end up with is a model in the Onyx format that's being optimization for me. And then if I go and look in my application here, what we have is we can go and run this in the Onyx runtime using the generate API that we have for it. So here you can see that I'm just reading in the model off of the local disk, and then sort of like the bit where it's kind of doing the generation is down here. So again, this is our generate API here that is going on. It's computing like the next set of tokens to generate. So if we go and kind of run this application, what you should sort of see up on the diagnostics is the process memory is going up. So it's up at about 2.5 gigs. So that's the size of this model in memory. And now I can ask it a kind of question here. So it's got to be a maths related question. So this is sort of what you're going to see here is, in the UK, the typical maths question that we given to a 13-year-old. Make G the subject of R equals 4G plus 7, right? So hopefully what it's going to kind of do here is spell out all the steps that that my son would need to take to do this. So it's correct in that we need to isolate G. And so it just goes and do this. And this is all running on the CPU. So again, if you have kind of NPU, we can have the model kind of running in NPU. Cool. That is that's the end of my demo. Back to you, Claire.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. Next, we have Stephen Moyes will give us a recap for React Native conference.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Gleb. If you were at the first episode, you might be aware that React Native is part of our overall client platform offering alongside things like WinUI and WPF. Between the last episode and this episode, we had a presence at the React Universe conference in September, where we shared information about how the React Native for Windows platform is going through a new architecture, just like all of React Native. Actually, Meta just announced that the new architecture for React Native is now the default as of yesterday. So hot news. But you might be wondering, why are we talking about React Native at this talk? And Gleb, if you can move to the next slide. Yeah, perfect. It's because fundamentally we know that there are a lot of developers who have web skills, React skills, JavaScript skills, and our team's goal is to enable those developers to use your web and React skills to build desktop apps, native desktop apps. We're not talking Electron. These aren't web view based apps. These are truly native apps under the covers. And so this is quite interesting from a developer perspective. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. We're doing it quite a bit at Microsoft. React and React Native are used throughout many of our marquee experiences, things like Office, things like parts of Windows, things like parts of Power Apps. Lots of experiences use React and React Native to modernize. Some of these experiences are quite old. Some of these code bases are older than I am, and it's challenging to modernize. And as we move into this world where desktop is accompanied by other devices and other platforms, how can we share code, native code, across all of these experiences? And React Native is one of the key ways that we do that. We have had a lot of success at Microsoft modernizing existing code bases using React and React Native. And what we're seeing is, if you go to the next slide, adoption of React Native continues to grow. React Native for desktop includes Windows and Mac OS, and we're seeing adoption grow in both places over the last couple of months, or I guess this is over the last year. So it's really great to see how the broader third-party ecosystem is using React Native to build native experiences that target Windows and Mac OS. I wanted to take just a minute. If you attended Build this year, or if you watched Build remotely, there was a talk that Jeffrey and Chigusa gave about navigating Win32 app development. And it included a slide that was actually kind of similar to this one that talked about the capabilities of the Windows App SDK. And I wanted to show a modified version of that slide to this audience because ultimately the new architecture of React Native for Windows is going to be using that shared sort of Windows App SDK underlying infrastructure, especially including some of the new capabilities like islands and the scene graph, things like the Windows Copilot library are being exposed up through React Native for Windows. So it really speaks to how React Native fits into this overall ecosystem of Windows platform development. And if you're interested in learning more about how you can modernize your applications, there's going to be a talk at Ignite this year. I'm sure some of you will be attending Ignite, and so I would recommend checking out the talk that Jeffrey and Khalif are giving about modernizing your apps. But what does this mean in practice? You'll notice that, if you're tuning in from a React Native perspective, you might have seen a demo that was given at App.js last year, where we talked about how React Native for macOS enabled capabilities that are above and beyond what you would get with a Catalyst app, because React Native for macOS is truly native. It's not Catalyst. And the scenario on the left is showing a menu bar application that uses React Native. And we were thinking it'd be really cool if we had a similar sort of demo or similar sort of capabilities, but instead of the menu bar, we actually were able to hook into the Windows taskbar, the system tray. And so on the right is a demo that we showed at React Universe earlier last month that actually uses Win32 APIs to hook into the system tray. So it's pretty neat. If you're building a React Native app that targets desktop, you get similar capabilities across macOS and Windows, which is really awesome. So there's just a quick screenshot. If you're interested in learning more, we have a bunch of links. The one that I wanted to call out here is aka.ms/React Native to get started. But I've got lists to all of our GitHub repos. I've got lists to our dev blog and our videos. And there's also, for those of you who are on the Windows App Community channel, recently went through a rebrand. For those of you that are on that Discord channel, there is actually a React Native area, or React Native channel that you can check out on that community. So thank you. I'm very excited to see what you build with React and React Native. Back to you.
Thanks, Steven. Now let's hear from Christopher Nguyen on terminal sixel image support.
Great. All right, awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Nguyen. I'm the product manager for Windows Terminal, and I'm here to talk about sixel image support in Windows Terminal Preview. So next slide, please. So to level set, what are sixels? Well, sixels are a bitmap image format. So just think of images that end in .6, for example. So Sixel image support is now supported in Windows Terminal 1.22 preview, thanks to the help of our community member, James. This means that if you're in your terminal, you can do something like cat snake.6 and see the Sixel image in your terminal. This also means that if you're using a CLI or a tool that has Sixels in it, like winget version 1.9, you'll see that Sixel image in your terminal because Windows Terminal 1.9 now has Sixels. So if I do winget -- help, I'll see a nice winget logo and a bunch of other goodies along the way. So that's so that's cool. You can now display Sixel images out of the box, but obviously not many of us have a folder full of Sixels or .6 images lying out of the box. So I personally have a bunch of JPEGs and PNGs. So to display images that are not Sixels, you'll need to encode them first. So you'll need a tool. I personally use image to Sixel in the libsib Sixel package just because it handles all the image formats I use. So what I'm going to do next is actually jump into a live demo of this in action. So I'm going to frantically hit present and share my screen. So share screen. Let's see. I'm going to do this one. Oh, actually, entire screen. That's probably better. Sorry about that. Okay, I think my screen's showing. Okay, there I am. Yay. So what I'm going to do now is use image to Sixel to turn a PNG image of mine and have it display in my terminal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call image to Sixel, specify a width. I'm going to use 800 just because that's the one that looks nice on video. And I'm going to specify an image. My image is called image.png. I know, very creative. And I'm going to end things off by printing out a blank line just to make formatting look nice on the video. So if I hit enter, bam, you can see an image in my terminal. So this is cool. Now you can display all your favorite PNG, JPEGs, and memes in your terminal, but you can also take things a step further and actually use this feature for productivity. So I'm going to jump into VS Code, and we're going to look at this file I have. So this file is called matplotlib-demo.py. It's Python. It's a lot of code, but what it really is code to show you an example of a 3D surface plot. So if I run it, I'll see a 3D surface plot. So I'm going to scroll down here. So oftentimes, people using matplotlib, they end their code with plot.show to show the plot. So if I go back to my terminal and run this code, so I do python 3 matplotlib-demo.py, I can see the plot, but it shows up as a separate GUI window. Thanks to Sixel image support, what I can actually do is instead of showing it on a separate GUI window, I can show it in my terminal. So to do that, I'm going to go back to my Python code. I'm going to comment out this plot.show line, and I'm actually going to use this. So what this is plot.savefig. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to save the figure to my buffer, and after that, I'm going to pipe it to image to Sixel to display in my terminal. So if I go back in my terminal, what this looks like in action is I'm going to press the up key to get that last line back, and I'm going to pipe it to image to Sixel. And this time, let's go with a width of 600 just to make things a little bit more smaller. And I'm also going to echo out another blank line to make formatting a little bit nicer on video. So if I run this, bam, the plot is in my terminal. So now the cool thing about this is that I can actually specify like how big the plot's going to be using image to Sixel, and also see the plot in my terminal window without having to switch context and look at another GUI window. So that's super cool. Let's jump back to the PowerPoint. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay, cool. So yeah, like I mentioned, Sixel image support is available for Windows Terminal Preview. It's a feature that you can use for both fun and productivity. Actually, just last week, we saw a community member named Matt show off a project he was working on to display graphs of his computer memory in the terminal. This is super cool. We're always looking forward to seeing all the cool and fun things you're doing with Sixel. So please just at us on social media or just share your work as a new discussion topic in the Windows Terminal repository. We love to see it. So yeah, that's it for my section. I'll kick it off to the next speaker.
Thank you, Christopher. And finally, we have Ashish Kumar Singh, who will cover WPF debug.
Cool, thanks, Gleb. Yeah, thank you. So hello, everyone. I'm Ashish, and I'm a developer on the WPF team. In this session, we're going to see how do we debug WPF, how do we build WPF from its sources, and then there are a few series of steps which we'll go through in the demo. So let's go through these steps first of all. What we're going to do is we're going to clone WPF and build it from its source. Once that's done, we'll import debug targets in our sample app. After that, we'll probably just verify that the WPF assemblies are getting loaded in the sample app. These are the ones which we probably just built right in the first step. And then we'll open a file in the framework code and then place a breakpoint in there. Then we'll validate, debug, and fix a problem. So we'll go through an issue, which is a real issue logged onto GitHub, and then we'll probably just find the source code, put a breakpoint in the framework, and then build it, and then change the WPF source code. And once that's done, we will just try to fix the issue. Now, the prerequisites here are that you should have VS installed, first of all. And then you have to modify your installation by importing the VS config file, which has all the workloads which are required to build WPF. During this process, you might feel some of the problems. I mean, what you could do here is that you could start clean. How do you, you could use get clean XDF, or you can kill ms build, and then, or maybe you can start with a new clone. Cool. Let's play this clip, and we'll go through this thing. Oh, OK. So we're starting with, I think this is starting something forward. We can go back a little bit. Yeah, here. So we'll start by cloning GitHub, cloning our WPF clone. So we are just making a directory in here and then going to that directory and then cloning WPF. So once this is cloned, what I'll try to do is I'll just try to build it. But before building that, as we said in the earlier slide, that we are going to install the WPF workloads as well. So this thing is cloning up. Once this is cloned, OK, this is slow. Yeah, fine. So this is cloned. And now I'll install the workloads which are required to build WPF. So I'll go to this more section in there. And once there, we have it. We're going to import the configuration. And I'll go to the documentation folder in our WPF source code. And from there, I'll just import the WPF.vs config. This has all the workloads which are required to build WPF. So for me, all the workloads are already installed in here. Now, I don't need to do anything in here, but you guys might have to install this. So once these workloads are installed, you could just go ahead forward and then try to build WPF. So for building WPF, I mean, I'm just going to use target framework as 9. So I'm going to switch to the branch release 9. Once I've changed to the branch, I'll just put in the command for building WPF. This is /build.cmd -plat x64 and -cdebug. So once the debug configuration is built for the x64 platform, we will use these binaries, which are built from here, to connect it to our sample app. And then we'll probably debug it from there. And then we'll push changes to this place and build it again. And then our sample app will then reflect these binaries. Now, moving forward, I'll first of all give an example of an issue. So this is an issue which was logged in. And the issue is simple that if you have a thickness with a uniform value and you do a get hash code on it, it'll give you same values. It'll give you 0. So for H1 and H2, both are coming as zeros, while they should not be zeros because the values 5 and 10, they are different, right? So the hash code should be different for these two. Now that we have understood the problem, we know that this is something related to thickness. So what we need to do is we just need to put a breakpoint in our thickness class. So to do that, I'll create a sample repro. What I'll do is I'll just create a new WPF app. And I'll just do this .NET framework target. Target framework would be .NET 9 for our case, because we built WPF binaries from the .NET 9 branch. So we can have it on .NET 9. Now, once this is done, I'll open up the CS proj, and there, what we have to do is we have to tell the CS proj that, yeah, OK, we have to load the binaries, WPF binaries from this place. So I'll just probably go to the developer guide in the GitHub section. after opening the CSproj file. Here in the developer guide, we have documented the lines which you have to import to connect your built assemblies to the sample app. So I'll just copy this excerpt from here. And once this excerpt is copied, I'll just paste it in our CSproj at the bottom. What it does is that it's defining a WPF repo root variable, and then it's importing the WPF debug.targets. So it'll just pull in the assemblies from the location where we just built earlier in the previous step. Next is we can have, OK, this is not, yeah, this is pasted now. And you could see that I changed the WPF repo root variable to the path where we built the assemblies. We can also verify that our assemblies are being loaded. We don't want the shared assemblies which are coming as a .NET installation. They shouldn't be loaded. Before that, we have to change this platform as well to x64 because we built WPF for x64. Remember the -c, OK, minus plat x64, which we gave in the last step. So after doing this, we could go into the dependencies tree in this, and then we can see that the assemblies are listed down there, WPF assemblies, and we could see that the path is indeed the one where we built our assemblies. So now we're sure that our changes are in place, and I mean our assemblies are being picked up. Now I'll move on to the problem. The thickness struct was creating issues in there. So I'll go to this particular file, thickness.cs, and then I'll see the get hashcode function and put a breakpoint in there. So we just need to evaluate and see like where this thing is creating problem for us. So if you could see, what we're doing here is that we're taking the hash code for left, right, top, and bottom, and then doing a ZAR. So if the values are uniform, I mean, if they're the same, then it'll create us a problem. So the first step here is we have to put a breakpoint in here. And yeah, we can see that we can hit the breakpoint in this place. And this is exactly connected to our assemblies. So now what we can do is we can make changes and build this again, and we can just fix this issue and verify that yeah, our fix worked. So what I'll do is I'll just open this file and make a change. So instead of doing the ZAR operation in there, I would just say, okay, let's do a combine for all these hash codes, and then give me the result for the actual hash code. So we also see that the H1 and H2 values are 0 indeed. So this is validating the issue, right? What the developer reported is the same thing. It's right. We can repro this. So while fixing this, I just open this file and then I'll make a change that, okay, system.hashcode.combine, and then the all left, right, top, bottom values rather than using the ZAR in there. So that's a simple fix. I mean, it's already in a PR by a community member. So that's even merged, but this is just for an example. So after making this change, what we're going to do is we are going to build it again. So I'm just killing MS build for some time, and then I'm building it again because MS build sometimes, just mingles with the process. So we have this build.cmd minus plat x64 minus cdebug again for us. We'll wait for the build to complete. And once the build is complete, what we can do is we could directly go to the Visual Studio and clean up the project and then unload and reload the dependencies. I'm doing this step because I want to be pretty sure that, yeah, my changes are in place and everything is clean and we are not borrowing anything from previous step or anything. So I'm just unloading it here and then reloading with the dependencies again. Next, now once this is loaded, we could just run the app. And here we are validating that our changes are in place. And while we are running this app, we could then see that the hash code values for H1 and H2, they should be different. And our fix is addressing the particular issue. So the breakpoint is placed at this line number 24. And if we could see the H1 and H2 values are indeed changed. So this actually fixed the issue. The key takeaway here, what we're seeing is that this is the whole process, how you kind of debug this and do it simply. This is a simple process to debug it. If you want to just validate your fix, if you want to see any problem which is there in your framework and you want to get started with it, this is the way. So we share a simple way how you can debug. This is how you can learn as well, right? You could place breakpoints in here, and then you can make changes, and then play with the framework. And at the end, you could probably, after debugging and learning, you could contribute to this open source framework for writing Windows apps and make the community, like, give your contribution to the community. Here's a QR code, and a link to the developer guide section. You could probably go in there and read about the developer guide and how there are a lot more details which are provided in there, which will help you to understand how this process works and what are the other nuances associated with this. So thanks a lot. I hope you liked it and you got something to learn from this session. This is a simple thing for beginners, but that's very helpful if you want to contribute. That's a first step which you can take to put your contributions in place in this open source repository. So thank you.
Thanks, Ashish. That was great. All right, now we're moving to our Q&A segment. We're excited to hear your questions, so please go ahead and type them into the chat. While we're collecting your queries, I'd like to remind everyone about the feedback form we have available. Your insights and suggestions are incredibly valuable for us, and they certainly will help us make sessions more beneficial for you. We also have ongoing discussion on community-driven Windows App Discord server, so you can join it after the call and continue your engagement, discuss today's topics, and connect with fellow developers. Hey, Roy. Thanks for jumping.
Hello. Thank you for having me here. I hear there's a lot of questions coming in the chat right around the WinApp SDK stuff. Yeah, Gleb, are you in chat?
Can I put on screen? Yeah, ready to answer?
I'll try. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's see here. I have a question related to our release schedule from Hotcake X. Can I talk about the WinApp SDK 2 today? Well, I'm here. Hopefully that helps. We are looking at releasing on a very consistent schedule so that in the future, these types of questions, they're more of a, I expect it to release on this day and not a, when will it come out? So to kind of put some context there, we are currently looking at releasing in the Q1 of next year for the 1.7. that might shift a little bit as we come in, but the expectation would be that, yeah, we will be out in that Q1 release. And as we're looking at new feature changes coming into the next release of the WinApp SDK, we are actively monitoring our WinApp SDK GitHub repo. So you'll see my name has been popping up a lot recently in our issues. We're taking a look at that looking at it twice a week. Mondays and Thursdays to make sure that we're on top of it. We see everything that's coming through, and as we see new and interesting features, we're going to start adding those into our flow, so that way we're really listening to our community to make sure that you guys have a voice on how we're going to be moving forward with it, and hopefully continue to be even more happy as we move forward. So I hope that answers Hotcake X question. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Roy. I see my colleagues answering questions right in chat, so that's great. To revisit today's session or catch up on past discussion, check out our playlist, which covers this and previous episodes. Stay tuned for our next call scheduled in December, and follow us on social networks to receive latest updates. And thank you all for your time and for your thoughtful questions and contributions today. If there are any unanswered questions, we encourage you to join conversation on Discord, and we'll do our best to address them there. Have a fantastic day and happy coding.